What is the science behind how the Women's Prize reshaped literature? Well, we need to go back and have a look at where the Women's Prize came from. In 1991, the Booker Prize, the literary world's most prestigious book prize, announced a shortlist of 6 books. Former winner Penelope Levy sums up the controversy at the time.
It's an interesting list, and I like the look of it. It's meaty, it's different, it's varied. There's something for everybody there. Though, why on earth there isn't a single woman on it, I can't imagine. Think of the row there would have been if it had been a short list of 6 women.
From this event, the first conversations around the creation of a Women's Prize for Fiction were born. In 1996, a brand new prize was launched, and in the 28 years since Helen Dunmore's novel A Spell of Winter won the first award, best-selling novels written by women have skyrocketed. In the early 1990s, only 28% of best-selling novels were written by women, but by 2016, women had achieved parity in that statistic, and have since overtaken men. This is a massive change over 3 decades. We're literally doubling the ratio of women who are best-selling novelists. There are a number of factors at play here, and to credit the Women's Prize as the sole reason for this change is folly. But I do think that they are the major reason for this change. To demonstrate why I think that, I'm going to turn to something I imagine most of my viewers detest: maths. I specifically want to ask you, the viewer, a question right now. Are women good at maths? Are men better at maths? Now that you've locked in your answer, I'm going to reveal what's true to you and pat yourself on the back, because without even knowing what you picked, you got the answer correct. There is nothing about how a man's or a woman's brain is structured that provides an advantage or a disadvantage. And according to a University of Melbourne research paper, women who graduate with STEM degrees do so on average with a 4% higher grade than men. Women, it would seem, are actually slightly advantaged in maths to men. However, as somebody with a maths degree, I can tell you that there were very few women in my classes. Women only earn a quarter of all doctorates in maths. For every 3 men who earn a doctorate, only 1 woman does. There are quite simply less women at the pointy end of mathematics. So what is going on here? Regardless of which side of the argument you're on, you must acknowledge that we have a stereotype in our society. Women are not good at maths. It turns out that there is this phenomenon called stereotype threat, and it may be the reason that women are underrepresented in maths circles. A 2021 study asked 100 students, split evenly between men and women, to solve maths problems. The study was then done again, but before the second study was carried out, they were told that women were worse at maths. Actually, they were told that the purpose of the study was to assess why women were worse at maths than men. But that's just being mean and putting a nice little bow on it. The results of this study really shocked me. Maybe it says something about the women that I know, but I really would have thought the results would be something along the lines of women thinking you can take your bad at maths and you can shove it up your... But it turns out that being reminded of the stereotype impacts the results in the exact opposite way. In the first test, women actually did 6% better than men. Now that's close enough not to be statistically significant, e.g. that difference could just be down to chance. But the second group that were reminded of the stereotype, there was a 50% difference in the score. Women performed worse than men when they were reminded of this negative stereotype. Now, I will link the paper by Paul R. Jones in the description for those of you who want to read more into this, but this is not a one-off experiment. It has been repeated countless times with many different variations. My favourite variations show that all genders perform best when they are offered $2 per question they get right. I also enjoyed the test that only picked graduate students and that reminded all takers of the maths test that they were all good at maths, which produced a good and slightly improved result for everybody. I can almost hear the detractors screaming, we just need to teach women to be resilient. But there is a proven way to counter a stereotype threat. You can walk an entire marching band through an exam hall singing "Women are terrible at maths" with big flashing signs and confetti. But, and I'm going to quote an academic text here, it has been found that the present real or symbolic, of a woman who excels in maths somehow serves to alleviate this stereotype threat. Real or symbolic, if only there was a Shelby Cooper instead of a Sheldon. When it comes to testing psychological phenomena, maths is really nice. Things are either right or wrong, correct or incorrect, but when it comes to determining the best books, well, we don't always agree. A book can work for one person and fail miserably for another. There just aren't any studies of the impact of stereotype threats on authors for this reason. But we can still apply the theory. In 1991, only men are getting recognised for their bookish work, and that very much sends a message to women that they're not good at writing. The 90s were a considerable time ago, and for those of you who don't remember or weren't born then, there was actually a legitimate debate as to whether women were as intelligent as men. And even though a lot of people knew that was a stupid belief, now we have the research and the science that the 90s didn't have to back that up. The 90s also inherited some of the stereotypes from earlier decades, and to a certain extent we still hear the stereotype that women are not as good at intellectual pursuits today, even though that is not backed up by the data. This stereotype was a lot stronger in the 90s, and it was a stereotype that the Booker Prize was reinforcing. The Women's Prize is now worldwide almost as popular as the Booker Prize. They are very clearly the two biggest literary awards in the world. That means that every year, of the two major book prizes, one is always going to be won by a woman. More than that, it is celebrating the achievement of a woman. The Women's Prize is providing the real or symbolic woman who excels, rendering the stereotype threat impotent. There has always been women who are good at writing books, much like there has always been women who are good at maths too. But by telling women they're good at writing books, they actually write better books. And for us readers, that's a big win, regardless of what gender you are. And this is why the Women's Prize is so important. But it is also why the Gelac Prize is important, the Lander Literary Awards are important, or any book prize that challenges the negative stereotypes in society. And I'm not saying eliminating stereotype threat is the only thing the Women's Prize does. Authors can go from struggling to make a living to having the luxury of being able to focus on writing just by being longlisted. It has the power to transform careers. The Women's Prize works on a lot of levels, but we have seen in recent years not just the elimination of this stereotype threat, but the beginning of the elimination of this damaging stereotype completely. Seeing talented women or talented people of colour or queer authors or various other minorities write fantastic books and getting recognition, that helps future generations in those minorities realise that there is a path. And it scientifically improves the work of everybody in that minority. Everybody's voice is valuable, and I hope book critics, readers, publishers, but most importantly, writers realise that. I would like to thank my wonderful Patreons for their support. We read 2 books a month, one translated, which is another underrepresented voice in literary circles, and one not translated. If you're interested in reading books with me, why not sign up and support this channel? Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.